Some of the other social effects of alcohol use and abuse are unprotected sex, pregnancies, sexually transmitted diseases, date rape. Individuals should limit their alcohol intake to no more than 4 drinks per day or 14 per week. That's for men. And for women and those that are over 65 should have no more than 3 drinks a day and 7 weekly. This is an interesting fact. College students spend more money on alcohol generally than they do in their textbooks. Each year, approximately 5,000 people under the age of 21 die as a result of underage drinking. This includes about 1,900 deaths from car accidents, 1,800 homicides, 300 suicides, and hundreds of other deaths due to accidents like falls, burns, drownings.
And just as a side note, Max Groover died from hazing September 2017 after Tim. And we are friends with his parents now. And what they gave him was something called diesel, which was 190 proof. And they made him chug diesel. The liver processes about 1 serving of alcohol an hour. Binge drinking is 4 to 5 servings of alcohol in a 2-hour period. With around 2 servings of alcohol consumed per hour, the liver gets backed up and more alcohol enters the bloodstream. So if 1 shot of Everclear leads to about a 0.08% BAC, 3 servings can cause alcohol poisoning.
People try countless ways to eliminate the intoxication, to eliminate the alcohol, such as drinking coffee. It'll make you feel more awake, but it doesn't get you more sober. Your BAC stays the same. Eating food, drinking a bunch of water, exercising. None of that is going to make you more sober.
If you suspect that someone has alcohol poisoning, even if you don't see the classic signs and symptoms, seek immediate medical care. And the point is, you should always err on the side of caution and call for help.
Alcohol, it's often used recreationally. It could lighten your mood, it could relax you, it could decrease anxiety. I mean, I'll have a drink, I'm not immune from it, so I will have a drink. In small doses, it certainly can relax you and ease your tensions, but it's also accompanied, as you drink more and more, it reduces your inhibitions. So your ability to stop yourself from doing something that you know you shouldn't is kind of diminished. Your coordination kind of falls off, your reaction time to things falls off, all of which puts you at risk, which is why there's drunk driving rules and even, I believe, riding a bicycle when you're drunk is against the law. Some of the other social effects of alcohol use and abuse are unprotected sex, pregnancies, sexually transmitted diseases, date rape, and these are prevalent things on a college campus. Up to 2/3 of the date rape cases involve alcohol. As I said, it could change your behavior. It changes the way you think. It can make you loud. It can make you belligerent, offensive, cause you to get into fights. It will just change the way you interact with people if you drink too much alcohol. There's situations where you can end up being in a place where you become a victim because you put yourself in the wrong place. Everybody, I am sure, has heard about the young girl from New Jersey that went to the University of South Carolina who had been out partying at 2 o'clock in the morning. She called for an Uber. She got in the wrong car and she got killed. That happens. That's reality. These things can happen from improper use of alcohol. All we're suggesting is moderation. And once you start deviating from moderation, you make yourself susceptible to alcohol abuse and addiction. Individuals should limit their alcohol intake to no more than 4 drinks per day or 14 per week. That's for men. And for women and those that are over 65 should have no more than 3 drinks a day and 7 weekly. Once you go beyond that, you start crossing the line of, are you getting into the abuse area? In college, look, we're realistic. We know Penn State has somewhat of a reputation as a party school as well. There's a higher risk of abusive drinking, and hopefully those of you that thought of taking this class think twice about that. But on a college campus, abuse of alcohol puts a higher risk of hazing situations, not only in fraternities but in sports groups and marching bands and clubs and spirit groups and all that, and also increases the likelihood of sexual assault, as I said. This was an interesting fact. College students spend more money on alcohol generally than they do in their textbooks. And I know how much textbooks are because I'm still paying for textbooks. So, we've also learned about half of college students who drink consume alcohol through binge drinking. That's somehow in vogue. And it should not be. And then 1 in 4 college students experience negative academic consequences from drinking. So again, there's impacts to you. And then, then we get into alcohol abuse and alcohol use disorder. That comes with drinking alone. It could result in problems at school, at work. You'll have cravings for alcohol, and if you do, that's when you need to start seeking help. If you start feeling withdrawal symptoms from drinking alcohol, you could have financial problems because, again, you're spending a lot of money on alcohol instead of food, your schoolwork and other things. You could have health problems. It damages your liver and other organs. If you start lying about how much you're drinking, you need to step back and think, why am I lying? Why am I not telling the truth about how much I'm drinking? It's because maybe there's a problem. As we well know, alcohol can kill. About 1,800 college students die from alcohol-related injuries every year. Each year, approximately 5,000 people under the age of 21 die as a result of underage drinking. This includes about 1,900 deaths from car accidents, 1,800 homicides, 300 suicides, and hundreds of other deaths due to accidents like falls, burns, drownings. I know people who, we live near the Jersey Shore, who have gotten drunk and thought it would be cool to go swimming at night at the Jersey Shore and never made it out. Their thinking was impaired. It's not a good idea to go into the ocean, at least in New Jersey, where there's heavy waves and undertow, when you're drunk and it's light, it's dark out, and people can't see you. So we ask you to take that into consideration. Also, a lot of deaths are just a result of alcohol poisoning because people don't know how much they took in, or asphyxiation, they swallowed their own vomit. So use of hard alcohol, that seems to be, the alcohol of choice, especially as it relates to hazing situations. Most of the deaths that occur as a result of hazing situations are from alcohol. We usually have a slide up with all the deaths that have occurred over the past 20 years or so, and almost all of them are alcohol related, and there's a lot of names on that list. Mixing is another common situation, especially in coerced type of situations where individuals are given all different types of alcohol, hard alcohol, beer, wine. First of all, they all interact with each other, and normally it will make you sick to your stomach. But also, you don't really know then how much you're drinking because you don't know, did you have an amount of wine which is considered 1 drink or 2 or 3 drinks? Did you have a shot that is considered 1 drink, 2 or 3 drinks? So you really don't know when you start mixing all these alcohols how much you're having. And then there's the quantity. I mean, when you're using handles and wine bags and chugging from a keg and things like that, you really don't know how much you're taking in. We'll see on tables in a little bit how your blood alcohol concentration goes up and how it comes down. But the important thing that I want everybody to walk away with, binge drinking, I guess it seems to be in vogue, but it's not a good thing to do. You're putting yourself at risk. Your friends are being put at risk. Your siblings are put at risk. We don't want anything to happen to any of you, your friends, or your siblings like what happened to our son. The other thing is that alcohol abuse is often a gateway to other abuse and addictions as well. And again, we would like to see that stopped. The NIC just recently put a ban on hard alcohol, the North American Interfraternity Conference. They did that because they realized that most of the deaths and harmful situations are created from hard alcohol. So it's important to be mindful of how much intake you have when you're drinking. A high number of college student situations that end up in the hospital are as a result of binge drinking. So again, we ask you to be mindful of that.
So this is a chart just to show you what a standard drink size is. So for a beer, it's a 12-ounce beer. A glass of wine is 5 ounces. A cooler, and I don't know how often wine coolers are in vogue anymore. They were years ago, maybe not so much now, but that's 12 ounces. A shot is 1.5 ounces, and spirits are like 1.5 ounces. The alcohol content is also, like a beer is 4 to 5%. Cooler, 4 to 5%. Wine, 10 to 12%. A shot and spirits are 40% alcohol, which translates to 80 proof. And it's customary beverage serving sizes in restaurants and bars don't necessarily conform to standard drink sizes. So a mixed cocktail, for example, may contain the alcohol of 3 different standard drinks. So you're getting a lot of alcohol at one point. And then there's grain alcohol. And I know that this was big in college when I went to college. And I remember hearing about, grain alcohol punch in a trash can. Grain alcohol is a clear liquid with no color, smell, or taste. However, it does have a harsh aftertaste, according to consumers. It can burn the throat and even lead to coughing. Sometimes grain alcohol is purified to the point that it's used as rubbing alcohol. So you're essentially drinking rubbing alcohol. A popular brand of grain alcohol is called Everclear, and it's 95% alcohol content, which is 190 proof. It is one of the purest and most potent alcohol beverages available. It's so dangerous that some states have outlawed its sale and consumption. And just as a side note, Max Groover died from hazing September 2017 after Tim. And we are friends with his parents now. And what they gave him was something called diesel, which was 190 proof. And they made him chug diesel. At his time of death, the day later, when they took his BAC, he was like 0.495. And that was after he was already dead. So that just goes to show you that you need to stay away from grain alcohol because it is just dangerous. Like I said, Everclear is more than twice the proof of most standard hard liquor. The liver processes about 1 serving of alcohol an hour. Binge drinking is 4 to 5 servings of alcohol in a 2-hour period. With around 2 servings of alcohol consumed per hour, the liver gets backed up and more alcohol enters the bloodstream. So if 1 shot of Everclear leads to about a 0.08% BAC, 3 servings can cause alcohol poisoning. And this just shows you various BAC levels and what the effects are on you. And a BAC stands for blood or breath alcohol concentration. It's the amount of alcohol in the bloodstream or on one's breath. And so if you have 3 to 4 drinks in an hour, you most likely will be over the legal driving limit. And it will probably take 5 to 6 hours for your body to process that and get back down to 0% BAC. 4 to 6 drinks, the brain begins to experience the effects of alcohol. Judgment and decision-making abilities are impaired. Person's reaction times will get slower. They'll feel lightheaded, woozy, but the person's likely to remember events. 8 to 9 drinks, it's much worse. Reaction times are very much slowed, speech slurs, vision may change, you might have double vision, loss of focus, and a hangover is likely to set in. At 10 to 12 drinks, coordination is severely impaired and the risk of an accident or personal injury is very high. So taking that back to Tim, They served him 18 drinks in an hour and a half. This is just pointing out to you how bad it can be. More than 12 drinks, alcohol poisoning is likely. Breathing, heart rate, and your gag reflex can all change. And alcohol is absorbed through the stomach lining. It's absorbed directly into the bloodstream. Food will slow down the absorption, as well as diluting alcohol with water or juice. But if you mix it with something carbonated or drink it straight, you will absorb it faster. And doing a BAC calculator, you can find them online. I guess it's a formula that they didn't want to explain. But just for example, a male who is 200 pounds, who drinks something 80 proof, which would be vodka, and has 5 drinks in an hour, that is a 0.11 BAC. And it will take 7 hours to get back down to a 0. And then this BAC chart is used for estimation. So just to look at the side, the number of drinks, it's broken out male and female, and the top is body weight. And the number of drinks is actually a poor measure of intoxication because the variation in physiology and individual alcohol tolerance. And the variation exists with respect to body weight, sex, and body fat percentage. Generally, men can handle alcohol better than women, and it's because women are usually smaller, have more body fat, and have a lower total body water content than men.
Just a little comment about BAC, a little anecdote. A few weeks ago, a partner of mine flew up from Atlanta. He was in town visiting, and he called me up. He came over our house. And we opened up some wine, and we were having wine. As I said, I have drinks. So we were drinking some wine, and I don't know, we probably got to talking about Tim and everything that happened with him. And I had remembered that my wife had bought me this keychain. It was a BAC indicator. Never used it, never had the need to use it. So we actually broke it out as we were drinking the wine. And we blew into it at different stages of the night. And at one point, I realized, you know what? My friend who wasn't staying with us can't drive home. And it wasn't that he was showing terrible signs of intoxication or anything like that, but he had clearly too much to drink to drive. So he ended up having somebody come pick him up. So your BAC goes up very quickly. And, you know, you need to be mindful of that, especially when you're drinking a lot very quickly. Your BAC is kind of go up not as quickly as you intake it. So if you have 6 drinks in a matter of minutes, or even 15 minutes, say 6 shots, your BAC is going to continue to rise over time. And then how do you get the alcohol out of your system? Well, that's your metabolism, and your metabolism is going to break down the alcohol. The alcohol is metabolized or broken down out of the body at a rate of 0.016% per hour. It doesn't matter if you're 6'4" or 4'6", if you drank red wine or diesel or whatever else. Your BAC is going to reach a certain level, no matter how it got to that level. Your body's going to need time to break it down and remove it from your body. People try countless ways to eliminate the intoxication, to eliminate the alcohol, such as drinking coffee. It'll make you feel more awake, but it doesn't get you more sober. Your BAC stays the same. Eating food, drinking a bunch of water, exercising. None of that is going to make you more sober. It may make you feel a little different. You are still going to be as intoxicated. You are still going to make the bad decisions. So don't think you could, drink water or drink coffee to sober yourself up. You could end up going to bed at night and wake up intoxicated in the morning, and there's just nothing that you can do about it. Your body can essentially get rid of 1 drink per hour. Otherwise, the alcohol is waiting its turn to eliminate itself from your body. So again, be mindful of that. When you hit it hard and when you pregame, your blood alcohol content is going up quickly, but it's not going to break down as quickly as it went up.
The effects of the abuse of alcohol and binge drinking: number one, you drink heavily, you're going to have a hangover. And it feels terrible for anybody who ever has one. Headache, sensitive to lights, sound, nauseous, maybe vomiting. I don't know if anything can make that feel better either.
Anybody here ever have a hangover?
Yeah.
Thank you for being honest.
And then it can also lead to depression, because alcohol is a depressant. You may think that it makes you feel good at the time, but it depresses the whole body. So after a certain point, you may reach a level of anxiousness and sadness and emotion. You also have an increased risk of injury. You can fall and incur a traumatic brain injury that could be undiagnosed and masked because of the perceived effects of alcohol, and as well as damaging your organs. So in Tim's case, they fed him all these drinks, and then he fell, which was a logical result of having so many drinks. And then they pretended like, maybe pretended isn't the good word, but they said, well, how were we to know? We thought he was just drunk. Well, he did fall down the steps and was unconscious. So you have to be aware that these are results that can happen for you or anybody around you. Vomiting is really too much poison in the body. You can have severe dehydration from vomiting too, which can lead to dangerously low blood pressure and a fast heart rate. And for me, vomiting is like my kryptonite. I'm good with an open wound, nosebleed, I can handle that. Tell me you feel like you're going to throw up, and I lose feeling in my arms. So I was one of these people that I would not even drink to that point of feeling sick, because I didn't want to have to make bargains with God not to throw up. Now I'm going to reverse blacking out and browning out, just because blacking out says so much. So blacking out does not mean that a person becomes unconscious, like falling asleep. And unconscious is not falling asleep, by the way. Instead, people continue to interact. You could do routine things. You can continue to drink. People who black out may drive themselves home, engage in sexual encounters, destroy property, spend too much money, choose other risky behaviors. And people who are blackout drunk are more likely to physically injure themselves. They've been known to walk home, brush their teeth, eat meals, go through normal behaviors, but they don't remember these behaviors because their brain doesn't move those experiences to memory. Once the person begins to sober up, the brain will begin to process memories normally again. But if blackouts become a common occurrence, the brain may have a harder time developing memories and retaining them. So heavy drinking can basically cause irreversible brain damage. And it is possible to pass out while experiencing a blackout. A person who's exhibiting unusual, risky behavior or who passes out while drinking needs medical attention to prevent alcohol poisoning, and 911 should be called. Experiencing a blackout after drinking does not mean that a person has a substance abuse problem, but it does mean that they drank more than their body could process over the course of a day or an evening. People who often complain about memory loss or blacking out after drinking are more likely to have alcohol use disorder, indicated by the fact that they consume alcohol on a regular basis, not that they experience blackouts. However, people who black out frequently from drinking too much are also likely to have a higher tolerance to alcohol. So their BAC will often be higher than a 0.15 when they experience a blackout. But people with a higher tolerance, a BAC of 0.2 will generally lead to a blackout. And this is extremely dangerous or life-threatening because alcohol poisoning begins at basically 0.3. So you're closer to alcohol poisoning when you're in a pattern of blacking out. Your tolerance goes up, and now you're closer to a dangerous level than you realize. Some people may experience brownouts, and I had never even heard of this until we started researching this. While a blackout is a failure to remember several hours that take place before the person's blood alcohol content drops, a brownout involves failing to remember some events, but not all. And things may come back to you when somebody suggests something and may trigger the memory. Alcohol poisoning is due to a large quantity of alcohol in the body. The individual may suffer seizures due to the amount of alcohol. Drinking too much too quickly can affect your breathing, heart rate, body temperature, and gag reflex, and potentially lead to coma and death. And you can consume a fatal dose of alcohol before you even pass out. So you need to know the signs of alcohol poisoning. And it's a good little tool on the right-hand side. If you suspect that someone has alcohol poisoning, even if you don't see the classic signs and symptoms, seek immediate medical care. And in an emergency, follow these suggestions. If the person's unconscious and can't be awakened, breathing less than 8 times a minute, has repeated uncontrolled vomiting, or has seizures, call 911 immediately. And keep in mind that even though someone's unconscious or stopped drinking alcohol, alcohol continues to be released into the bloodstream because your body can only process 1 drink an hour. So it's just sitting there waiting to be absorbed. And the level of alcohol in the body continues to rise. Never assume that a person will sleep off alcohol poisoning. When you call 911, be prepared to give information. If you know, be sure to tell the hospital or emergency personnel the kind of alcohol the person drank and when. Don't leave an unconscious person alone. And don't try to make the person vomit either. Because at that level, alcohol poisoning affects the way your gag reflex works. And that means that someone with alcohol poisoning can choke on their own vomit and accidentally breathe it back in and aspirate. And that can also cause a fatal lung injury. However, do help someone who is vomiting by keeping them sitting up. And if they can't sit up, if they're lying down, turn their head to the side to help prevent choking. And try to keep the person awake so that they don't lose consciousness. And alcohol poisoning can lead to death in less than an hour. So there's a procedure that we know called backpacking.
How many know what backpacking is?
Yeah, backpacking, jansporting. It's commonplace, and it is like the procedure that people use for people who they think have drank too much. And for those of you who don't know, it's when you fill a backpack with heavy books and you put it on somebody's back so that they won't roll over onto their back and choke on their vomit. But the thing is, like I said, at a certain level of intoxication, your body shuts down. The epiglottis doesn't work, the gag reflex doesn't work. So the vomit comes up, but it's not propelled out of the body. And you will breathe it back in. And you essentially drown in your own vomit. So don't backpack. If you're thinking about backpacking, if you're checking somebody's breathing, if their color of their skin looks blue, if you're checking their pulse, call 911.
I think we're going to skip the aftermath. Okay. Some other considerations. So when you're drinking or when you're giving drinks to somebody else, what you don't know, what you don't think about often is the medications that you or someone else is taking. Those medications can exacerbate the impact of the alcohol. So again, be mindful of it. Not knowing one's limit. People come into college, a lot of them never really drank, or if they did, it wasn't very much in high school. If you put that person in a position where they're all of a sudden drinking a lot of alcohol, they're going to get to that dangerous point much quicker. So please, be aware of that and be aware of it for yourself as well. Again, failure to make reasoned decisions. Don't exert peer pressure on others to drink with you or to play a drinking game. Sometimes people like to walk away when they know they've had enough, but then the peer pressure brings them back in. Don't do that. You're putting them at risk. If somebody has family alcoholism in their past or addiction in their past, again, you need to be mindful of that because that could happen to you or your friends or your siblings. Don't drink and drive. Hopefully that goes without saying. I think, knock wood, that has changed a lot since we were younger. But even if you're drunk and you're walking around campus, you could walk into the street and have a car hit you. So again, it's important to be able to keep an awareness about you of what's going on around you. And then there's the legal ramifications of of drinking and underage drinking. And I'm going to do this very quickly. But in Pennsylvania, furnishing alcohol to a minor is a third-degree misdemeanor. You don't want things like this on your record. It could get thrown out of court. It could get what is called an ARD, which won't go on your record. But a lot of cases, if you're furnishing alcohol to a minor, you could get charged with a misdemeanor, which comes with a potential sentence in jail, $1,000 fine, and then if you do it again and again, a $2,500 fine. Suspended driver's license for 90 days, could go up as you continue to go forward. And again, you'll have a permanent criminal record. And if you get out of it, you only got out of it because you paid an attorney a lot of money. You don't want to spend your parents' retirement money paying attorneys for you because you got out of hand. Underage drinking comes with its own consequences. I'm not preaching here. You do what you want, but it's a summary offense, $500 fine for the first offense, again, driver's license suspension, and again, something permanent on your record. You could get out of it if you hire an attorney, but again, you're spending your parents' money, and that doesn't make sense. And then there's the consequences that come in at the university. The university has its own set of consequences that you'll have to abide by.
So Pennsylvania now has better medical amnesty as it relates to alcohol. So if you believe that, well, if you're calling on someone else's behalf and you believe you're the first to call, you identify yourself and stay with the victim until help arrives. Both you and the victim will not be charged with a crime relating to underage alcohol consumption. And the point is, you should always err on the side of caution and call for help.
Okay, so we're going to wrap it up. We're going to skip over something we were going to do, but here's what we ask of you. You took this class. I don't know why you took it, but it's actually an interesting class to me. We made the time to come here because we care about you guys. So we couldn't leave here without asking something of you. So we ask you to obey the law. Again, if you're going to underage drink, we're not preaching, but, do what's right. Be mindful of your own state and that of others. If you've had too much, cut yourself off. If your friend had too much, cut them off. Don't put peer pressure on them. Don't pressure anyone to drink. You could be putting them in a dangerous state. Know the signs and stages of intoxication. By all means, don't backpack. It doesn't work. There's an individual that died at Lafayette University, not from hazing, just heavy binge drinking. They backpacked him. He died. Don't let someone sleep it off. Call for help. Don't be a bystander. You could save someone's life. You will be very happy if you did that. And I can assure you, if you knew you had the opportunity to and you didn't, and somebody died or got really hurt, you'd be very sad and upset, and you don't want to live with that. So thank you very much for your time.